Anxiety is thought you are having. It is thought you are taking innocently, very, very innocently, seriously. Welcome to Your Life But Easier. Sydney Banks stated, all feelings derive and become alive, whether negative or positive, from the power of thought. Having that deep realization will carry you through life, leaving you to feel calmer and more at ease, whatever life throws at you. It is so simple, yet so complex. This podcast will support you to see yourself differently, the life you are living, the body you live in, and the relationship you have with yourself and others. Each week, I offer an insight that will help you to see yourself with more understanding, kindness, and love. There's nothing to do but to see that the answer to an easier life is right in front of you. It is your life, but easier. Have fun listening. Hello and welcome to Your Life, but Easier. The impact of COVID-19 on mental health cannot be underestimated. That is our subject for today. One of the biggest global crises in generation. The COVID-19 pandemic has had severe and far-reaching repercussions for health systems, economies, and society. Countless people have died or lost their livelihoods. Families and communities have been strained and separated. Children and young adults have missed out on learning and socializing. Businesses have gone bankrupt. Millions of people have fallen below the poverty line. As people struggled with their health, social and economic impacts, mental health has been widely affected. Plenty of us became more anxious. A great number of people have reported psychological distress and symptoms of depression, anxiety, or post-traumatic stress. And these have been worrying signs of more widespread suicidal thoughts and behaviors, including amongst healthcare workers. Some groups of people have been affected much more than others. Faced with extended school and university closures, young people have been left vulnerable. Social isolation and disconnectivity, which fueled feelings of anxiety, uncertainty, and loneliness, and led to affective and behavioral problems. For some children and adolescents, being made to stay at home may have increased the risk of family stress and abuse, which are risk factors for mental health problems. Women have similarly faced great stress in homes, with one rapid assessment reporting that 45% of women had experienced some form of violence, either directly or indirectly, during the first year of the pandemic. 45% of women. That's a lot, eh? So now where the masks have fallen and we are around and about again, there are still a lot of people dealing with the repercussions of the pandemic. After staying at home for such a long time, people feel discomfort spending time in big mass gatherings and rather stay at home spending time out in nature or on their own. Our way of living changed for a long time. I don't know how long it was, but it was a very long time. We were separate from one another. It was a long time. I remember a friend of mine, she was telling me how her daughter was allowed to go to a restaurant, but sit on a table of 6, and she was not able to interact with other people. How were they able to meet someone? Luckily, she got now engaged and is expecting a baby, but it was a tough time for a lot of young people. Our lives got more quiet, and yes, For some people, it seemed very tricky to be locked in with their whole family or being isolated on their own. We all had more time just to be instead of charging around like headless chicken. I remember me and my husband, I mean, we're lucky we living on the countryside. And because we were not able to drive, we were exploring new walkways here and explored this area. And we founding ways and places we didn't even know existed before. But if you were locked in the city and maybe in your student apartment, it was really not fun. No wonder so many people, and especially young people, started to suffer with anxiety. And now, where we are allowed to go outside again, and now it's what? It's over a year now, I think. Still, there are loads of people who are suffering. And I heard the other day that apparently there's still 135,000 kids missing from school in the UK. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? And they don't know where these kids are. I still have clients now who really suffer with the aftermath of COVID. The thing is that because of being at home and having time at home and our life got more quiet, we don't want to go out, or some of us don't want to go out as much anymore and feeling uncomfortable being in mass gatherings. And what happens then is that we judge that we don't like to do this anymore. I used to like going out. I should like going to a party, to the pub or a concert. I used to like to be surrounded by people. And then what people are doing is they're adding more judgment about it. There must be something wrong with me. And on top of that, other people, our parents, our family, our friends, they're judging us that our behavior changed. And then very quickly, there is a big problem. You start to see yourself now with critical eyes and criticize every behavior of yourself. And that is dragging you even further down. You don't like to go out for a moment, so what? Stay at home. But if you see it as an issue that there is something wrong with you, then every time you feel, I want to stay at home, you see it's a bigger problem, it's a bigger problem, it's a bigger problem. But when you can see it with, so what? I like to stay at home. There's nothing wrong with that. Then you maybe can take it with more ease, and maybe something changes in the next moment or the next day, and life will be different. And then you want to go out. How you show up in this moment will be something completely different in the next. A lot of young people, like I said, they're still suffering with anxiety. What I know of some of my clients is that they feel they lost years. They missed out, and that is so. Yes, you missed out. You missed out times with your friend. The studies were at home, they were online. There was no interaction and fun with other students you're with. There were anxiety about the future. You saw your future at risk. In young age, you don't want to see or hear something like what you heard in the news. It seemed a scary place to be. Maybe you were isolated from your family and you felt disconnected, and that felt traumatic. But now COVID is luckily a thing of the past. The virus mutated so often that it is no more harmful than any other flu. Don't forget, vulnerable people and elderly can die of any other virus going around. But a lot of you young people are still suffering with your mental health. And not only that, but people feel traumatized by the pandemic and still experience the aftermath. So if you are listening to this and you feel you are struggling, it might be helpful for you to listen on. First of all, I want you to know that you are okay. Whatever your trauma was, you are okay right now in this moment. When you suffer today is because you keep revisiting your past. You keep judging yourself that you cannot move on, but there's no need. You don't know what you don't know. So you see your past still as real in this moment. And you criticize the way you are. We are often loving and kind with others, but we are so hard and judgmental with ourselves. We all do it. One way or another. You are not alone. Psychology does keep looking at the behavior and is trying for people to change their behavior through creating different habits, seeing life in a more positive way. It is giving labels and it is creating a way that is the right way to be, and the wrong way, that's when you diagnosed with mental illness. There's something wrong with you. But let me tell you, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with you. Your experience of the world is created by your thinking in this moment. This means that your mental health is not determined by external circumstances or people or the past, but rather by your internal state of mind. Thoughts can create feelings or stress, anxiety or depression, but also happiness, joy or excitement. And your experience is constantly changing. You're just simply concentrating more on the experience you don't want. You're saying, I am the one that feels anxious. I'm the one that feels always depressed. You know, when you want to buy a car, for example, say a Mini, and then suddenly you only see Minis driving around. That's what happened to my husband as well. It was a different kind of car. Or when you are pregnant and you suddenly see only pregnant women, or you want to buy some shoes and suddenly you look and see, you look only at shoes the whole time. You have all kind of thought passing through all day long. One moment you think about the past few years and you feel burdened. And then you think about a joke you recently heard and you smile. And then you think about an event coming up and you feel anxious. And then you read a book or watch a film and you are in a completely different world. If the pandemic is responsible for your anxiety and how you see life, then everybody would have the same experience right now. But some people are suffering and others are not bothered. And now you may be thinking, I want to be that person that is not bothered about stuff like this. Well, keep listening. If you, for example, listen with some friends to some music, Some will say, I really like this piece. And others will say, oh God, that's such a terrible piece of music. So it's clearly not the music which is giving you your experience, but thought you're having about it. Now, what we're normally here to do is to change your thinking. Just change your thinking. Think positive. But that's hard work and will add a lot of judgment on your mind when you cannot achieve that. But let me tell you a secret. The secret is to know it's thought you experience. You experience everything via the neutral power of thought. That is guiding you through life since the day you're born. That what makes the grass grow and the daisies grow. That what lets your heart beat at night. That's what lets all the flowers and tree blossom every year. We are part of this oneness you can call the intelligence behind life, or some call it God mind. But we can think ourselves separate from that. And that is when we take life personal and our suffering starts. You are the artist of your life, painting the picture of your life in any way you desire. When you can only see that your experience is created via thought, 100% of the time. When you see that, there is nothing for you to change, nothing to do. Thought is the illusion you live in. It is taking you into the past or the future. It is taking you underwater or up the highest mountain. You tend to get lost in thought, which is taking you out of this moment right now. When you cannot see that you're living in your thought-created reality, then you take thinking really seriously. You need to change your experience, and you cannot see a way out of feeling lost. So whatever you do right now, if I can stop you in your tracks for a moment and just sit down, take a moment. Please concentrate on your right foot. Do you feel the sole of the foot on the ground? Now concentrate on your left shoulder. Is your shoulder up at your ears, or is it relaxed? How about your left hand? Do you make a fist, or are the fingers all relaxed? Now tell me, how are you able to experience your foot, your shoulder, your hand? Exactly, you need to think about it. It is thought which is giving you the experience of your foot, your shoulder, your hand. How do you experience future events? An upcoming holiday, a talk you're giving, or whatever you're going to be doing in the future? Is your holiday already here right now? No. How do you experience the past? How do you experience all of this right in this moment, right now? Exactly, it is through thought. You think about a happy occasion, a party you were, a joke that was made, or something else, a funny moment, and you smile or you laugh out loud, right? Then you think about someone or something very sad, and you start crying. You have tears in your eyes. Is your experience real? It seems real, but it's not. It is thought created. I will tell you a little story out of my life, and maybe that makes more sense to you then. I was really caught up the other day. I didn't feel very well. My mind was so busy. I lost the lightness I like to be in. I even sat down and I tried to meditate, but somehow it wasn't working that day. It just didn't happen. That nice feeling just didn't turn up. But suddenly I noticed what I was doing. I was trying to change my thinking. I wanted to be in a nice feeling, and I didn't see for a moment that it was thought I was having. That I had a lot of judgment on myself. I put a lot of pressure on me as I wanted to do something for my business, and I didn't have enough time to do it. But anyway, there is no reason to go into the story behind that. It was thought I experienced. So what I did, I started judging everything I did. I didn't try to change my experience. I didn't want to feel that way. And it was a downward spiral. And then suddenly I could see it. I was caught up in my own thinking. The moment I could see that, my mind was clear. I was present. I was back in that peaceful state I like to hang out in. Without doing anything, just a simple realization of how I experience life. I don't have to take my thinking seriously. I can if I like, but I'm missing this moment right now. When I'm present, my mind is quiet and I can hear and see what is going on around me. What we like to do is we don't like to be in an uncomfortable experience. So we try to change it constantly. But the key is to see that it is thought created. It is actually not that somebody is attacking us or doing something to us. Thought just seems so real in this moment that we just don't want it. But when I can see the illusion of thought I'm living in this moment, then there is nothing to do, and I'm not taking it as seriously anymore, and I'm present. I'm back in this moment. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is based on fear about what could be happening in the future. When you think about something that you don't want in your life and you start to feel worried, anxious, scared, you innocently see the future in front of your eyes happening right now. It seems as if you are in the middle of it already. But is it really happening? It is like watching a film. The other day, I was watching the end of a series on Netflix. Not sure if you've seen it. It's called Firefly Lane. And oh my God, it's really well done. It was so sad. I was crying my eyes out. It was like the characters in the film were real. And I had to remind myself, it was a film, Paola, it was a film. It was my experience, mine alone. So my husband and I watched the same film, but my husband shared some tears, but it was nothing like I was crying. Oh my God. And in that moment, my friendships came up, my whole life turned up, and I cried my eyes out. It seemed so real. And you probably know what I am talking about. And that is the same what's happening when thought is coming in. It even can give you a physical response like crying. So it didn't last. And so is your thinking. It never lasts. For me, a few minutes later, I was talking to my husband about a completely different matter and I was smiling. And that is how it goes. That is how you experience life. Anxiety is thought you are having. It is thought you are taking innocently, very, very innocently, seriously. But now I can hear you saying, but now I can hear you asking me, for sure, but these thoughts, I don't want them. I want to feel happy all the time. And let me tell you, life is not in your control. Like Walter Monroe, one of my teachers once said, there are potholes in the street. You cannot help it. But you can drive along, and every time there's a pothole, you get really shaken, surprised, and upset. Or you accept that there are in the street, and your ride is a bit calmer. Fearful thoughts, anxious thoughts, happy thoughts, they're all thoughts. You cannot change thought you're having, but you can start to see it for what it is. Since the day you're born, you experience life via thought, the neutral power of thought. And it's carrying you through life. It is giving you the possibility to do with life whatever you wish. We just sometimes happen to take life very personal. And that is when there is suffering. You cannot change the weather. It is overcast. It is raining. Sometimes it's very stormy. But you know the sun will be shining again. You can have lots of thinking about the weather, but the weather is still doing its thing. And that's the same with your life. I can enjoy the ride of life. And there's a lot less judgment, more acceptance. And the result is a far more quiet mind. You know, it all starts with love and forgiveness to yourself. You always give the best you can. Know that. Live and learn, and don't forget to have fun on the way. Stop taking yourself and life so seriously. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave me a comment or pass it on to a friend or family member to help to make a difference to their life. And if you want more support, get in touch, read my book, join my membership group, or if you want personal support, please find me over healthylivingwithpaolaroyal.co.uk. You find all the links below, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.